We are about to start the fourth day of questioning of the undercover police officer Carlo Soracchi, who, using the cover name Carlo Neri, infiltrated the Socialist Party, No Platform, other anti-fascist groups. We've got through the majority of his questioning. There will be further questioning this morning, and then we'll get to the Rule 10s, which is the further questions for the witness that come from the lawyers from the other co-participants at the inquiry. I expect there'll be a lot of these. I'm joined by Ben from Campaign Opposing Police Surveillance.
I haven't got like a thing written on my t-shirt. I feel like I'm letting the side down.
You are letting the side down. Could you get a pen or something and write like "fuck the police" on it or something?
Yeah, I'll try to remember that.
Yeah. What have you made of Carlo so far? What are you expecting today? All those kind of things.
Well, I reckon the Rule 10 is going to be the best bit, because we're going to come back to revisit a lot of the places where someone has kind of figured out that if we keep digging on this and try to pin him down on the contradictions and inconsistencies and obvious blatant lies that he's been telling throughout, there's been a lot of good stuff. He's a particularly good witness, I think.
In that sort of like the best witness is the worst witness kind of way.
Indeed. I mean, he resorts to the "I cannot remember, I'm sorry, blah blah blah" thing all the time, but when he actually opens his mouth and says something else, he basically sticks his foot in his mouth and makes a mess of it. You follow any train of questioning, and he just messes up his own lies. So there'll be a lot of coming back to that, I think, specific things. I don't know, the rent book or whatever, to like pin him down a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, he contradicted himself massively, repeatedly. I mean, like, I mean, Venice stands out as a massive car crash. I mean, also the trip to Bologna with Donna, again, you know, just like contradicting himself. I mean, that was the bit where he was like, "We would know." Well, I mean, yes, but which was, you know, I mean, like, that was the bit where he got very upset that he was being called a liar. When I mean, I think he called himself a liar
during the rent book. He did that as well. I mean, like, he was quite visibly offended at the prospect of having been called a liar when we're talking about a fraudulent document.
Yeah. I mean, his whole approach. I mean, there's been no consistency whatsoever. I mean, like, he went to the wire to defend his honor on the fact that he definitely didn't engineer himself a romantic weekend away to Venice with Lindsay, and then just openly accepted he fraudulently engineered one to Bologna with Donna. Like, he doesn't seem to have, like, we went into it thinking, oh, he's playing this role of an honest simpleton, trying to like pretend that he's like, you know.
I have to wonder how he actually managed as an undercover cop.
Right. Yeah.
Like, your whole identity is built on a series of lies that need to be consistent. And the longer you're in, the longer you have to maintain consistency of those lies. The deeper you get with people who appear to now know you, relationships you form. If you don't get into any kind of like significant relationships, then maybe it doesn't matter that your story changes, because you're fleeting through movements and nobody really knows or cares who you are. I mean, that's the nature of it.
I mean, I think he had two strategies to deal with that. One was huge amounts of alcohol. So like, he was drunk, people around him were often drunk. That made everything a bit fuzzy. But the other thing, and I think the main thing, something which so many of them used, was the liberal use of trauma. He claimed to be massively traumatized by events in his life. He connected to people with their trauma. And around those things, you know, just by our very nature, we protect ourselves by being hazy on the details of a lot of that, because we don't want to like know too much. And when people can mess up, and when they're explaining their own trauma, we don't tend to approach them as like detectives. We kind of accept that, oh, well, I mean, they've been terribly traumatized.
And you can come back to that trauma when you get into a difficult area and you realize you've fucked up and that they're starting to question you on you can just bring up your trauma, and that kind of acts as a trump card.
I wonder what it was that when Lindsay said he blurted out that my mother's dying. I mean, what was it that the argument was about? Yeah, exactly. Do you know what I mean? He's like, shit, I can't cover this. I know what I'll do. Let's throw this out there.
Indeed. I'm quite fascinated. I keep coming back to this rent book thing. The fact that it wasn't disclosed to, what's it?
Donna.
It was Donna. And she sees it and like, hold on a minute, what's this? How many times has that happened in the inquiry that we like something hasn't even been shown to them at the last minute, and it's just been completely skipped. So no one has known to dig in, and the
something which was
inquiry is not going to know of the significance.
Yeah, so, something which supposedly was covered in her signature. So a document that, like, showing it to her should be like absolute basic.
It should be in the disclosure. It's got her name in it. Right? Exactly.
Right.
Even by their own standards. I mean, there are documents which are relevant to you, which the inquiry say aren't relevant to you because your name's not on it. I mean, even if, like, I don't know, it's the report on the crime that you're being accused of, but it's not, your name isn't on that report, they won't show it to you.
But in this case, it was her name, her address, and 9 versions of her signature, all of which were slightly different. I mean, like, come on. I mean, a real, like, a lack of. I can't find the superlatives for how, like, poorly the inquiry's behaved with this particular matter.
The other thing they dropped yesterday, right at the end, something to watch out for today, allegedly, will be the release of the publication, finally, of a load of people's witness statements.
A huge number.
Exhibits.
Yeah.
And among them, I noticed, is GRD.
Yes.
Who gave evidence, 2-3 weeks ago now?
Right. Yeah.
What the actual fuck? We were told that it was the witness statements of those people who are not being called to give oral evidence that are being, unfortunately delayed, which was bad enough as it is, because that evidence obviously refers to and is significant to officers that are giving evidence, and not having that available at the beginning is travesty. But for GRD's own evidence, his own witness statement, not to be published on the day that he's speaking, what the actual fuck? I mean, how he didn't come and sit with you and talk about his testimony, but if he'd wanted to, the chances are he would have, like, it's really hard to know what ROs are covering the things you're talking about. In fact, this is the self-censorship, but you do really well because you don't read the disclosure until it comes out. But my
secret move is like being lazy about something.
But the rest of us have read tons and tons of stuff, and it's just so easy to make the mistake of thinking it was talked about during the last few days because we've read it.
I mean, I would say occasionally I do read stuff, and I find it incredibly difficult. I'm always like, that thing, don't say that thing, don't say that thing, which is very frustrating. So I have to train myself not to look into it.
There's loads of people who have something really important to talk to someone about, and it's on hold until a particular document is made available to the other people. And that pause is turning out to be, like, every time there's a promise that yes, it's going to go onto the bundle or onto the website, it just doesn't happen.
Which is why I would really recommend anybody who's expecting to be part of the inquiry during tranche 4, if you've got something you think is like sensitive in some way, why not talk about it now? Why not get it out into the open before the inquiry comes along and starts putting restriction orders on your own mind? Because there's nothing they can do about that. It's your memories, it's your life. You can talk about it. Once you in the inquiry process and you've submitted a witness statement, they can put restriction orders on things. But if you've already put it in the public domain, because it's stuff that you remember, stuff that there's no control on that. So I'd really recommend people do that.
It's fascinating the kind of control they try to assert. I've seen newspaper clippings where the name of Labour councillors in the newspaper clipping have been redacted. It's a newspaper clipping. I can go and look that up. It's public. You can't apply a restriction order to public domain material.
It's totally insane. We just had a comment from someone from the campaign opposing police surveillance. Really recommend, if you want to comment for anything you want to say, not just witness statements, we're still waiting for the inquiry to publish transcripts from Mark Jenner's hearings 3 months ago too. The inquiry has been incredibly slow when it comes to doing what feels like fairly straightforward admin work. There are restriction orders in place that it's the redactions. And I'm sure what it is there's demands for greater redactions than is required from the police in these. I'm sure it's that.
Sometimes it's also civilian witnesses who are holding up the inquiry's release of materials by.
I mean, that does happen, but I mean, that is I would say the smaller one.
It is definitely,
but it's the one that gets blamed the most, because the inquiry can turn around and go, well, you're complaining about it, but it's your people who are slowing this particular one down. I mean, it's like, never mind that particular one. What about all these others?
There was some research done into that, and watching the progression of falling standards of disclosure. So yesterday's thing is a classic example because it's I don't know, dozens and dozens of statements and exhibits that should have been released at the beginning of this, at least at the beginning of this set of hearings. But if you go back and look over time, you'll see there was some of it happening in T1 and we made a little bit of a fuss, but it was just like the exception rather than a rule. And then in T2 there was a bit of a slide and you started to see, you know, happening more. T3, it becomes the norm.
Yeah,
it's not an exception, it's the norm. And the inquiry meeting their own timetables or fulfilling their promises becomes like something to go, oh, blimey, that was a surprise. In fact, I can't think of many times I don't think it has happened.
I don't think it has. I mean, I've had like, I mean, what's weird is that sometimes I get, you know, members of staff at the inquiry coming over to me just saying, oh, this statement will be published on the, like in the next few days. And I'm like, I mean, I wasn't asking, but great, that sounds good. And I mean, obviously, it doesn't happen.
Hold my breath.
It won't hold my breath. I don't believe you, but I don't believe anything you say because I mean, it's you've got no credibility on this.
So
you know,
the credibility and faith has gone. But you know, we still turn up.
We still engage.
We've got you know another half a day of what's going to be edge of your seat watching. Yeah, I suspect.
I mean, hopefully. I mean, well, I mean, like, it'd be interesting to know. I mean, I would imagine there'd be a lot of. Are
we expecting something? I mean, like, is there a new line of questioning that you're aware of coming up?
I'm not expecting anything particularly new. I think there's going to be a lot of recaps of stuff that's already been covered. I mean, I think there's some stuff about the exfiltration which he didn't really fully get through at the end of yesterday. I'm not sure how much will be explored about the deceptive relationship with Carlo Soracchi's current wife, who was the third woman he deceived, who he deceived for over a year before confessing to her. There was a lot of restriction orders around when he was being asked about that, because quite frankly, Carlo Soracchi didn't. You know, I mean, it's restriction orders to protect him and his family, and he's breaking them on the stand. I mean, it's a farcical situation. So there is a section that will be enclosed. There was
this morning.
That will be this morning.
Before they are obviously before the
Rule 10s. Before the Rule 10s. There was a section enclosed with Donna McLean, and there were. I imagine there'll be a lot of different topics that were in the closed. We won't get to know anything about them. None of us will be able to be in the room.
But if only you knew what was being said, you would have a completely different perspective on this whole thing.
Yes, I mean this is something which John Mitting said in response to Lindsay after she said, you know, look, they've been institutionally misogynistic, institutionally sexist. I mean,
he said that to another witness as well, right at the end. I can't remember who it was. One of the family justice campaigns.
Yes, he did. And
it was like, to think whatever you've gone through, and however awful you think it is, and however like unjustified the spying on your family was, if you knew what I knew, you know,
you think differently.
No.
I mean, it's a nonsense. I mean, I think it's a deeply unchristian move of Sir John Mitting to present that particular phrase, if you knew what I knew. He should, in all good conscience, bear good witness to what is secret and let it remain secret and not present it in such a manner. It is cruel and unnecessary. I think I think he needs to look at his conscience and realize that making such statements are damaging, harmful, and hurtful. And it's very wrong of him to do so. I think, I mean, one of the things about these closed sessions is we don't know how many there are. Yeah. We have no idea. For all we know, because the inquiry doesn't sit for huge periods of time, for all we know that the stuff that's happened in secret, I mean, there's stuff in closed that we do know about, but the stuff that's happened in closed and in secret may be longer, may be much more fuller than anything that is public.
There might be so many of them. That's why they never get anything like administratively done.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it would make sense, really. I mean, if there are hundreds of days of closed hearings with undercover officers, their managers, members of the state, obviously there's no input from non-state, non-police corps participants in any of that process. No input from any of our lawyers.
No testing of anything.
No whatsoever.
Which makes it even more just like. Just plain wrong to sit there and on a public broadcast and say, if only you knew what I knew. It's like what we do know and has been tested. We can assume, we could extrapolate that to the stuff that's being presented in closed, and that if it was possible to test it, our perspective wouldn't change at all.
No, I don't think it would at all. I mean, like There remains, throughout the late 20th century and early 21st century, there has been one area of solidarity between radical political movements and the British aristocracy, and that has been anti-fascism. In such, there is an argument to be made that there are certain elements of undercover police operations that perhaps, maybe, we would have sympathy for. I'm not entirely convinced, but it is possible. In those settings, maybe there is situations where we would go, well, I mean, fuck them. Those Nazis fucking deserved that shit. But I do not believe that that all of the stuff that's happening closed is relating to that sort of behavior. There are closed areas, entire closed areas, which we believe to be, well, it's not the left wing, the other wing, which is, has been suggested. Yeah, but there are other topics too.
Let's assume that they were making shit up about the far right and sexing up their reports in the same way as we've seen in the left. We must also assume that in order to protect their operations and their cover, they miss opportunities, deliberately miss opportunities to make arrests. They will deliberately have dropped cases against people who are arrested in the presence of an undercover in the far right in order to protect them, in the same way we've seen dozens and dozens of times in the left. It's a travesty, a travesty of justice.
It really is. It really is. I'm reminded of Jim Boyling saying that they didn't pass on information that led to prosecutions in anti-GM stuff because they were sympathetic. I mean, Lord knows how sympathetic they were to far right.
How does the sympathy fall? And yes, exactly. And what direction is that bias playing out? Who can guess?
Things are about to start. We should head in. The broadcast will start at 10:10. It's 2 minutes to 10 now, so about to go into the hearing room. We'll be doing videos in every break throughout the day. It'll probably be an early finish. Tune in if you can. Please like, share, subscribe. It makes a huge difference to how widely these videos are viewed. And we'll see you all during the first break. Bye for now.
Bye.